Okay, I am here. I'm Krista Heron, and I'm taking the position of the literacy coach in this video. And this is Mrs. Goff. She is the teacher that I am observing and working with for this coaching round. So we are going to talk about her lesson that I observed yesterday. She teaches fourth and fifth grade special education, and this lesson took place during her reading instruction. They are working on a novel currently, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from the Chronicles of Narnia. So we are going to just kind of talk about her lesson, and I'm going to give her some feedback and discuss some strategies and things that she can implement in the future for her lessons. So, Mrs. Goff, you did a great job yesterday. You really did. I loved watching you interact with your students. And we'll talk more about my thoughts and my observations. But I just want to get your opinion on how you feel your lesson went yesterday. So what do you think the most effective elements of your reading instruction were yesterday?
Something probably that's consistent with it is the binder that I have. So they have the questions ahead of time. They have all of everything ahead of time. So if I ask them to look back to something, they already have it in their hands, physically in their hands. We don't turn anything in. I just check their work. So it's always there to reference back to from chapter to chapter. But yesterday specifically, the conversation went well. We reviewed the questions that we had answered the day before and went over those. And then we pre-read the questions that we were going to be working on before we read the rest of the chapter for chapter 3. So pre-reading skills with this particular group is definitely a necessity.
That's kind of what I noticed too yesterday. Like, I really liked how you kind of got that background knowledge from them by reading through like the questions prior to reading. Because I think I could see the wheels turning with them when they were, thinking about, okay, this is what we read yesterday. These are the questions that correlate with that. And then reading the questions before you read the book really helps kind of help them know and understand what they are looking for within the text when they are reading. Your binder is so organized. I loved how it was set up with all the questions so the kids are prepared. That's one thing I noticed too about your classroom is routines, structure, all of that is really solid. The kids knew exactly what they were supposed to do. They got their binders out with very minimal prompting. So props to you on that. What is the element that you thought could be shared with other teachers from what you taught your students yesterday?
Probably the binder itself. I do it for another class for social studies and science that I teach for the different differentiation with that class. But I just love having all of everything that they need on hand to refer back to with any notes, and they don't lose it within folders or turn it in and I forget to turn it back,
and it's kind of nice
take it
too,
home. Yeah.
Like if they are like absent or something, they know exactly what they have for the next day. So they don't get off course really. So that's good. Is there anything that you would change in your lesson from yesterday for like future instruction? Or anything that you might like add? I mean, I thought you covered the majority of all of your bases yesterday.
Instead of only reviewing the questions from the previous day, I also need to review the vocab again.
Okay. Yep. And we're going to talk about just some ideas for vocabulary. I feel like that's one of the hardest like strategies for teachers to teach. I feel like too, as special education teachers, like that is kind of a struggle because sometimes we have those kids that are lacking that background knowledge, especially if they're reading. Level is a lot farther behind than maybe where they're expected to be reading in the books and texts that they are reading as a class because that vocabulary hasn't been introduced. So we will talk more about that, but I think that's definitely a good plan. Is there anything that you would like to improve on in like your instructional techniques? I mean, I think that your delivery and organization and instruction was fantastic, but is there anything that you feel like maybe you need to, if you want me to give you any guidance or look for anything as we move forward with our coaching sessions, like is there anything you would like me to look into for you? And if you don't, that's fine too. We can.
I'm all ears. I want information and whatever information you have.
I
but
feel
off
like
the top of my head, I can't. I know there are improvements, of course, but I can't think of anything off of the top of my head.
And it can be so broad, and so I think sometimes it's better. Like this is only the first time that I've observed you, and so I think as we move forward, obviously we can kind of talk and collaborate on some things that I can find to help support you in areas that maybe you're wanting that.
Definitely.
So, some things I want to discuss. The first one was your response to diversity for your students. You are a fantastic special education teacher. Your response to diversity is top notch because it's something I think that you do on a daily basis when it comes to their diverse learning needs.